Well, welcome everybody to another edition of New Japan 2004, getting out of Inoki's shadow here in TEW 2020. At this time for the Strong Energy Tour, which will lead to the second Dome show of the year, New Japan Nexess, live from the Tokyo Dome. This might be because there's not as much going on as far as like the actual locations that this tour hit in real life. This might be a slightly more low impact tour as far as like shows I show. I'm probably going to end up showing like still 3 shows before the big Dome show, so probably about the same amount length of actual video, but might be like less big matches on these tours at all compared to even like the last previous shows. But of course, it's going to be a big Dome show. We already have one main event set up as it's going to be. Of course, Nakamura versus Bob Sapp for the IWGP title at the Tokyo Dome, and a big match because again, remember, we're trying to realistically move away from the Inoki type of stuff, but we do have a bunch of people who are relatively over who have MMA background, so we're at least going to use them to help out our current roster and see if any of them actually have the talent to hang around, like say Suzuki or something. But regardless, the other big thing about this tour is it's the Young Lion Cup. We've got 8 people involved. Let me show you guys. So we got Enzoa, Blue Wolf, Goto, Nago, Kodaka, Yamamoto, Yano, and Taguchi, all as part of the Young Lion Cup, and it's going to be 8 round tournament going throughout the tour with the finals at Nexess. Of course, I'll show you the highlights as far as like the results and everything, but I'm not going to show you every show on the tour, unlike a G1, because this is still the Young Lions Cup, not the G1. But we're live from Korakuen Hall, which will be a big tour opening match, along with some setup for the Dome show and just some other feuds. So let's get rolling as we're live in sort of sold out Korakuen Hall. And we'll start out with the actual Young Lions Cup, as in the opening match. Yamamoto defeats Nago in 9-16 by pinfall. This gets a 20. Hiroshi gets a 19. Yamamoto gets a 26. 20 overall because of the pre-show stuff, but still solid win for Yamamoto as he gets the first win here at the Young Lion Cup. The next match, which only gets a 16, Toru Yano defeats Enzoa with, of course, a roll-up because it's Toru Yano, and this only gets a 16. Yano still has an injury, but he's working through it because he's a good boy, and Yano gets a 19, Enzoa gets a 21. Probably would have been slightly higher if Yano wasn't injured, but hey, he's going to have to work through it because it's New Japan, goddammit. Moving forward, in our final Young Lion Cup match of the show, it's Blue Wolf going over to Taguchi in 7-32 by pinfall, not by pinfall, with submission. A strong victory for Blue Wolf, as he might be considered the favorite in this tournament, as this gets a 31, Taguchi gets a 32, Blue Wolf gets a 43, but overall both gets a 31. And I move forward from the Young Lions Cup match to our first match of the normal match, and it's Minoru Fujita and Taiji Ishimori teaming up to take on El Samurai and Noe, and they get a big win after, of course, debuting as a force. Attack with Ishimori debuting as a force with Fujita, attacking Liger and Heat after the junior heavyweight title match as he defeats Samurai and Inoue here in 10 minutes. This gets a 47, and it's quite unfortunate. Well, first, Fujita and Ishimori don't work well as a team, which is not the end of the world, but also Samurai and Inoue have no chemistry as partners. So this match is just sort of a mess, but Fujita and Ishimori get the win after 10 minutes. Ishimori gets a 48, Fujita gets a 37, Inoue gets a 33, and Samurai gets a 46. So yeah, this gets a 47, but post-match, there's a beatdown with Liger and Heat save, but, Fujita and Ishimori actually get the advantage on both men, and stand tall, looking like strong heels, pointing at Liger and Heat as we move forward. But Liger looks good here, but still, continuing to push these guys sort of like the new young punk heels of the division. And afterwards, we have Barnett basically destroying Yoshi in about 9 minutes with a submission. Yoshi gets to get a little bit of offense in here, but this is mainly a way to show off Barnett, as this gets a 50 overall. Barnett gets a 53. Yoshi gets a 33. They didn't click, but still a strong win for Barnett, as just a good star win for Barnett as we move forward here. And then in a 6-man junior heavyweight in a 6-man junior heavyweight tag match, Roderick Strong, Dragon, and Curryman get the big win over the team of Jado, and Sugawara, as Danielson taps Sugawara out with the cattle mutilation. This gets a 60 overall. Curryman gets a 57, Danielson gets a 59, Strong gets a 51, Sugawara gets a 40, Jado gets a 60, and Jado gets a 52. So big win for Dragon and Curryman along with Strong. And then we have Nishimura defeating Masayosho Naruse in 12:47 with the backslide. Solid win for the veteran Nishimura over the younger Naruse, as he looks stronger. This gets a 58. Naruse gets a 50. Nishimura gets a 56, and a big win for Nishimura. And then Shibata, this was probably too hot on the card, but anyway. Shibata defeats Raito Chuzen in about 8 minutes by pinfall. This gets a 33, as Shibata gets a 44. Shitsen gets a 37, but Shibata gets a big, strong win here, as he's part of the Shooters delegation, but it's a strong singles win here in Kurikan. And then in our semifinal match, which is probably going to be honestly better than our main event, in a decent match, Tenzan, who of course broke up with Takayama at the recent Big Show, teams with Tahashi, defeat Takayama and Yasuda. When Tenzan submits Yasuda with the Anaconda Vice, this gets a 68 overall. Tahashi gets a 63, Tenzan gets a 75, Yasuda gets a 44 as sort of the designated job to the Stars match here, and Takayama gets a 66. But then post-match, Takayama actually hits Tenzan with the big backdrop driver as his feud continues and is begin to heat up. Overall, that gets a 75, and then to our main event. As in a bit of a upset here, Nakamura and Makabe get the big victory over one half of the tag champions Scott Norton and Kensuke Sasaki in 14:15, when Makabe actually gets the pin over Norton with the Fisherman Buster. Norton says Suzuki, of course, have no chemistry, but I walked in knowing that, as this only gets a 58. Not the end of the world though, as Makabe gets a 47, Nakamura gets a 69, Sasaki gets a 52, and Norton gets a 48. And now the interest is, Makabe, just pinned one half of the tag champs. So will he and Nakamura get a title shot, or will somebody else step up to be Makabe's partner? And overall, this gets a 62, perfectly solid Kurikan show to begin the build-up to the Tokyo Dome, and all the other fun stuff that's happening with that. So overall, I'll see if there's any news or emails for you guys, and then I'll be back with the next show that I decide to use as an actual show here. Of course, I'll go over sort of the lineups and all the other fun stuff. Let's just see here as we see if we have any mail. Okay, so nope, just about right. And I'm not going to show you that signing because that would be a spoiler for other stuff going on. But so I'll be back with you guys in just a moment with the next show on the tour that is of note. All right, we're at the third show of the tour from Kagoshima Gymnasium in Kagoshima Prefecture or region, I guess. And we have a pretty decently big show here. Not like a huge show, but a big junior singles match and a couple other interesting matches along with the Young Lions Cup. And so far, if we look at the Young Lions Cup, Yano has an early lead with 4 points. Yamamoto has 2 points after one match. Kodaka also has 2 points after one match. Nagago actually has... I somehow managed to book him 3 times. Oops, I made a mistake there because that should be impossible after only 3 shows. Oh well, I'll double check that. Anyway, Nagago has 2 points after 3 matches. Blue Wolf also has 2 points after 1 match. And Taguchi has 0 points after 2 matches. Goto has 0 points after 1 match. And Enzo has 0 points after 1 match. Let's get going to our next match on the show, live from Kakishi Marina. And we start the show off with Kodaka going over Anzawa. This gets a 37. Kodaka gets a 58. Anzawa gets a 22. Of course, pre-show limiter, but still solid win for Kodaka as he can use one of the favorites in this Young Lions Cup so far. And after that, we have the next match in the Young Lions Cup, which is Goto defeating Taguchi in a 52 by pinfall to go to heaven. This gets a 24. Taguchi was off his game. Goto gets a 32. Taguchi a 27, 24 overall, but a good solid win as Goto gets his first win in the tournament. And then we have a tag match between members of the Young Lions Cup. As in this match, Blue Wolf and Yano get the win over Nago and Yamamoto in a little over 12 minutes. When Blue Wolf submitted Yamamoto, this gets a 25. Yano's still injured, so he gets an 18. Blue Wolf gets a 44. Yamamoto gets a 24, and Nago gets a 21. But a solid win here for the team of Blue Wolf and Yano as we move forward. As then, in a 6-man tag match, in a big win, Roderick Strong, Dragon Curryman get the win over the team of the junior tag champs, Milano and Kanamoto, along with their partner Takamura. When Curryman gets a pin with Takamura over, let's call AJ Angel Wings, whatever he calls it as Curryman, So it's a big win for Dragon and Ferryman. This gets a 54. Kanamoto got a crack sternum, which is unfortunate. But Kanamoto gets a 64. Takamura gets a 43. Minoru gets a 55. Strong gets a 48. Nielsen gets a 62. And Ferryman gets a 55. But a strong win for the, American team here. And Kanamoto got a crack sternum, which is unfortunate. And this has been sort of like an injury plague tour already, as Tenzan got a concussion, which means I'm going to have to sort of rebook his feud with Takayama, which I'm going to set up later on to make it more obvious. But now we have our actual first match, as we have a new stable of sorts, as basically on the previous tour, it was announced that Makabe's partner will be Nishimura, and he and Nakamura are now teaming up as a new group called Supernova Gun. Their official Japanese name I'll bring up after the show here, just because I thought it would show up. But they make their debut as a team, defeating Murakami and Shibata in a little over 12 minutes when Makabe gets the pin over Murakami with the Fisherman Buster. And Nishimura gets a 55, Makabe gets a 49, Shibata gets a 43, Murakami gets a 48. And sort of the gimmick of like this stable is, they're technical strikers, but not MMA guys. And like they're not heels, but they're a little more aggressive than the pure New Japan Army team. And also part of like the undergirding thing is that they're not officially a group yet, and New Japan officials is still trying to keep up Nakamura with other New Japan Army members. But this gets a 54, solid win. Of course, Murakami and Shibata have don't work well, but I'm still going to keep them up because why not? And then in his singles debut here in New Japan, Taiji Ishimori gets a strong win over, of course, a longtime partner of Liger, as he gets the win over El Samurai in a little under 10 minutes, a little over 11 minutes, with a superstar elbow. This gets a 46, El Samurai gets a 55, Ishimori gets a 53. El Samurai sustained a strained wrist, Jesus Christ, so many injuries, but a big win for Ishimori. And post-match, Heat comes down to sort of like, confront him, but Ishimori like makes the title belt motions, and he points at, beating El Samurai, and there's, just a confrontation and a push between both men, but no agreement on a match quite yet. But this gets a 43, continuing this little feud that we're continuing to build up. After that, we have a six-man tag and sort of a quasi-squash here as the shooters team of Barnett, Azuka, and Suzuki defeat Ryota Yasuda, and Yoshi in just 9 minutes when Suzuki just pins Shutsen with the pile driver. Strong win for the shooters over sort of our undercard tag team, as this gets a 58. Suzuki gets a 67, Izuka gets a 53, Barnett gets a 64, Yoshi gets a 36, Yasuda gets a 45, and Ryota gets a 39. But 58 overall. As we go to our next match, which is Nakamura teaming up with the Jutsu. We got the Battle of the Champions as they take on Takayama and Fujita here. And sort of, the underlying thing is if, Takamura pins Nakamura, he might be in line for a title rematch. But unfortunately, Takayama does get the win here, but it's overheat with the German suplex. So, big heavyweight gets the win over the junior heavyweight champion. But sort of the gimmicks also is Fujita, beat down Heat for a lot of the match, taking him down. And also, Fujita and Takayama are more, not quite shooters, but, moving towards that. Of course, Takayama has his MMA stuff. But big win for Takayama and Fujita here. As, in the post-match, even though I don't have it as an angle, Ishimori comes down with Fujita to just sort of, point at Heat again. This overall gets a 67, solid match as Heat gets a 61, Nakamura gets a 70, Fujita gets a 42, and Takayama gets a 66. And then we have a sort of a breather as Tanahashi and Nagata team up to get the win over Nagai and Naruse in about a little over 11 minutes when Tanahashi pins Naruse. This gets a 68. Naruse gets a 49, Nagai gets a 53, Nagata gets a 76, and Tanahashi gets a 63. Strong win for the baby faces here. And then in our main event, in a big match, about that great heat and decent wrestling, Tenryu and Sasaki team up and get the big win over Chono and Fujita in 20 minutes when Sasaki submitted Fujita. Strong win for him, as this gets a 64. But afterwards, Sasaki and Chono argue. Tenryu and Chono argue and, start fighting in before New Japan officials break it up. Tenryu and Sasaki go to the back. Chono sort of plays to the crowd and then goes to the back, and Fujita's left there alone. As Fujita gets a 57, Chono gets a 62. Sasaki gets a 62, and Tenryu gets a 45 because it's Tenryu in 2004. He's already slowing down, unfortunately. But then, as Fujita is standing there alone, some music that a lot of fans in America would know as out comes Bill Goldberg. Goldberg comes down, points at Fujita, takes the mic, says, "You're next," and yes, Bill Goldberg is here in Japan. So Goldberg was available, and I figured, because Goldberg does fit into this era of New Japan, also just in general in New Japan, because the sort of the super work, the heavyweight division of New Japan was not sort of the super work rate Okada, Tanahashi, Omega era. This was still the really good matches, but the big mofos beating the shit out of each other. The Hashimoto, Sasaki, Chono era. And so Goldberg fits into that, and now he's basically looks like he's challenging Fujita. His demand gimmick got a great. This one got a 56 because, Goldberg can't speak Japanese. But yeah, that makes... So, pre-book the match. And this is also a very dome show match. And then we also basically get... it's going to be also Tenryu versus Chono at the dome show. And another big match. So there you go. And overall, the match show itself gets a 66. So solid show. Yeah, Goldberg's also, I'm treating him as, even though I signed him in a written contract, I did not, I'm going to treat him as a, special attraction, basically. I'm not even 1% if he's going to be part of the G1. He might be. I'm not 100% sure about that. He'd be interesting as part of it, especially in this time period. But I would just have to figure that out. Regardless, let's move forward. Yeah, so just email, Takayama's fully fit. So yeah, let me just check out our injury situation. So yeah, as a thing, so Tenzan has a minor concussion. He's unavailable for booking for 22 days, which is unfortunately just, I think, is long enough that he's not going to be available for the Dome show. So we'll have to figure out something for that. Samurai just has strained wrist, so he'll be fine. Kanamoto's out for 18 days, which is unfortunate, but still, he can still, I think, do the pay-per-view. Yeah, that should be fine. He'll just have to build up the junior heavyweight tag match in a later way. And Tiger Mask 4 and Yano just have their string of hiccups that they're probably going to be working through, even though not fully. And as an update on the tournament, we now have Anzawa with 0 points after 2 matches, Blue Wolf with 1 point after 2 matches, Goto with 1 point after 2 matches, Naga with 2 points after 3 matches, Kadaka with 4 points after 2 matches, Yamamoto with 2 points after 1 match, and Yano with 2 points after 2 matches, and Taguchi with 0 points after 3 matches. Let me just double check. How did I mess up Nagago here? Okay, let me look at his match history. Okay, I'm totally an idiot. Had him do 2 matches on day 2. I'm a moron. Okay, not the end of the world, but okay. But I'll be back in just a second as we continue this tour with the next show on the tour that you guys need to see as we continue the build up to Nexess at the Tokyo Dome. Alright, we're back with day 7 of the tour, and we'll go over the shows since a second ago, and then do an update on the Young Lions tournament, and then we'll go with the actual shows. This is a big setup show for the Dome show. So if we go look at our show history, I'll also show you guys day 2 since I didn't go over that. So we had, as part of the Young Lion tournament, Hiroshi Nago defeated Kuchi, Yano defeated Nago in that match I didn't realize I did twice, Kodaka defeating Goto, and a big win for him. Then we have Fujita and Ishimori getting a big win over Heat and Tiger Mask to sort of set Fujita and Ishimori further up. Takayama and Rusi tuning up to take on Saito and Gedo, getting the win. Curryman defeating Takamura in sort of a build-up of the junior tag feud. Tenzan and Nagata teaming up to take on Yasuda and Ryota, sort of putting them up as a team for the moment. Then Barnett and Azuka getting a big win over Tanahashi Yoshi. Then we have the debut of Supernova Gun, also known as Choshinishi Gun, Nakamura, Nishimura, and Makabe defeating Shibata, Murakami, and Suzuki. And then we have day 3, which you guys saw. Then you have day 4 with Goto defeating Anzawa in the Young Lion tournament, Blue Wolf going over Yamamoto Young Lion tournament, Kodaka defeating Taguchi. Then we have Fujita and Ishimori getting another big win over Jado, and Sugawara. Milano Collection AT getting a win over Danielson in the Junior Heavyweight Tag Feud continuing. Then we had Supernova Gun defeating Naruse, Nagai, and Hirota and sort of put them over the New Japan mid-carders and sort of furthering the idea that Supernova wants to be on their own. Then we have the shooters of Barnett, Iizuka, and Murakami just getting a squash win over Sato, Goto, and Yoshi. Then we have Tanahashi and Nagata teaming up to defeat Takayama and Isuda in a big match. And then in the main event, Sasaki and Nakanishi. Sasaki and one half of the tag champs defeat Suzuki and Shibata in just a win to put over Sasaki and Nakanishi a bit. Then in Ochi Gymnasium, we have Blue Wolf go over Nagio, Yamamoto defeating Anzoa, Goto and Kodaka defeating Taguchi and Yano. Roderick Strong and Curryman getting the win over Milano Connection AT and Takamura in continuation of the Junior Heavyweight Tag Feud as Kanamoto is currently injured. Ishimori defeating Gato in sort of a singles win for him. Then we have in a sort of like undercard 5-on-5 elimination match, the shooters of Suzuki, Barnett, Iizuka, Shibata, and Murakami defeating Naruse, Nagai, Yoshi, Ryota, Yoki, and Isuda. And this is basically it. Like not quite a squash, but Barnett, Suzuki, and Shibata all look strong. Then we have the Pirates Gundam of Nakanishi, Sasaki, and Norton defeating Tanahashi, Sato, and Gato to put them over. Then you have Takayama and Fujita teaming up in the main event to defeat Nakamura and Nishimura in a 67. So strong card there. And then in the last card, we have the first show from Hakata Star Lanes with Anzoa going to a time limit draw in Taguchi as part of the Alliance Cup. We have Goto defeating Nagio, Fujita and Ishimori defeating Heat and Inoue. We have Supernova Gun defeating Nagai, Sato, and Goto. We have Danielson defeating Takamura. We have Takayama defeating Yoshi, and a big one just put him over. We have Barnett and Suzuki defeating Tanahashi and Blue Wolf. And then we have Tenryu, Sasaki, Nakanishi, and Norton defeating Nagata, Chono, Ryota, and Yasuda in sort of way to put over Pirates Gundam. And now it's time for our big show tonight. Also from Hakata Star Lanes, but let's get rolling with the actual show. Oh, before that, in the Young Lions Cup, we have Anzo with 1 point to his draw, 5 matches in. We have Blue Wolf with 6 points, 3 matches in. Goto with 3 points, with 6 points, 4 matches in. Hiroshi Nago with 2 points, with 5 matches in. Kodaka with 6 points, with 3 matches in. Yamamoto with 4 points, 3 matches in. Yano with 2 points, with 2 points as he's 2 points with 2 matches in. And Taguchi with 5 points, with 1 point with 5 matches in. And here we go. We start off with Yano in the part of the Young Lions Cup defeating Taguchi in a little under 7 minutes. In a 22, Yano is still injured, but Yano gets a 20. Taguchi gets a 32, so that's mainly because of Taguchi's Yano's injury here, but this still gets a 22. And then the other match, Blue Wolf gets a shock loss to Goto as Goto hits him with a big missile dropkick to pinfall victory in a little over 13 minutes. This gets a 31. Goto gets a 31. Blue Wolf gets a 42. But a big win for Goto here over Blue Wolf as he gets kind of a shock win. And then in the last match, another not quite a huge upset, but Kodaka actually goes to a draw with Yamamoto in 15 minutes when the time limit expires. This gets a 35. Yamamoto gets a 24, Kodaka gets a 58. But a strong almost victory here for Yamamoto as he fights Kodaka to a draw. And then as we move forward, American Dragon and Curryman continue their feud with the Milano Collection AT, Takamura and Kanamoto, with them getting the win over Collection AT and Katamura here when Curryman pins Collection AT with the best move it's all over. This gets a 60, Curryman gets a 47, Danielson gets a 62, Takamura gets a 40, and Collection AT gets a 61. So this is another match that'll be added to the Dome Show card officially, as it's going to be Koji Kanamoto and Milano Collection AT taking on Bryan Danielson and Curryman. And this is for the Junior Heavyweight Tag Champs. There we go. So yeah, let's get to 60 overall. And then as we move forward, in a huge match here, and about the teaser match for the card, but Sapar Wrestling, Fujita and Ishimori get the huge win over Heat and Liger when Fujita pinned Heat with the Fujita driver after Liger accidentally hit Heat. So Liger and Heat are teaming up. They're still kind of rivals, and this blows up as Liger accidentally drills Heat, and that allows Fujita to hit the Fujita driver. And a big win here as this gets a 60, Liger gets a 76, Heat gets a 52, Ishimori gets a 45, and Fujita gets a 35. Again, unfortunately, they won't work well as a team, but I'm just have to fight through that for the moment. But big win here. As post-match, the matches are officially made for the Dome Show. As first, due to what happened here, he will defend the title against Fujita. And in the other big match, Liger will face off against Taiji Ishimori. And this angle gets a 47, but good stuff. And then finally, in sort of a setup match, Fujita kills Roderick Strong in 3 minutes with a sleeper hold, just like throws him around, locks him in a sleeper hold. Strong has a tap out, just a way to put Strong over. Put Fujita over. Fujita gets a 58, Strong gets a 45. But Fujita continues the beatdown, and that makes Bill Goldberg basically come out from the back, and there's a confrontation, and they begin the fight. And, just these two bruising guys going after each other between young boys and New Japan officials, breaking them apart. And I think I did make that match, right? Yeah, it has already been set, but it'll be a big battle of the bulls as Fujita takes on Goldberg. And this gets to 56 as it continues to be built up. And then, in sort of a continued match to continue sort of the feud, as Nagata has stepped in as sort of Tenzon's, ally here to face on Takayama. And in this match, Takayama and Naruse get the big win, defeating Nagata and Ryota, when Takayama actually pins Nagata with the first German suplex. This gets a 62. Ryota gets a 39. Nagata gets a 74. Naruse gets a 48, and Takayama gets a 64. And this gets 62 overall, and afterwards they continue to fight with Nagata and Takayama brawling. This gets a 71, and it's, basically been quasi-official, but now it's really official afterwards. In a big match, two former IWGP champions face off, as is Nagata versus Takayama at the Tokyo Dome. And this gets 71. I believe next up is our main event. Next up. So this is set up basically, the idea is Tanahashi strained his bicep, which really puts over the match so that he comes in injured, all taped up, and Barnett just goes after him and destroys him here. Barnett and Suzuki get the win in just under 10 minutes over Tanahashi. Tanahashi bravely fights, but maybe he's more dumb than brave, as Barnett locks him in a submission hold and gets the submission win over the under 30 champion, as this gets a 63. Ishida gets a 41, Tanahashi gets a 65, Suzuki gets a 57, Barnett gets a 64, and that sets us up another match for the Dome Show, as it's going to be a defense of the under 30 title, as Tanahashi takes on Josh Barnett. And then we have our main event, as Nakamura, Nishimura, and Makabe get another huge win over the Pirates Contend team of Norton, Nakanishi, and Sasaki, as Nishimura gets another win over Nakanishi with the backslide. This gets a 68. Makabe gets a 47. Nishimura gets a 56. Nakamura gets a 73. Sasaki gets a 69. Nakanishi gets a 58. And Norton gets a 60. And that officially makes another match for the Dome Show. That's going to be... Norton and Nakanishi defending their tag titles against Makabe and Nishimura. Sure, that's fine. And then, as Supernova Gun are celebrating, Bob Sapp hops the rail, sort of throws Nishimura out of the way, hits Makabe with a big clothesline, then grabs Nakamura from behind. Sapp bomb, he stands tall, as you really put over, it's going to be Sapp Nakamura at the Tokyo Dome. And overall, this match gets a 66. The show gets a 66. So good, solid stuff to really, and, sort of that was it's not officially a TV taping, since all the stuff is being officially taped for our Tour Horror Lights, but I imagine, that's one of the big shows that are part of the, what's the word I'm looking for? That are part of the upcoming show. So, as we load this up, we'll see if there's any interesting mail and go over the standings for the Young Lions Cup. First, though, okay, Azuka wants to be paid more. Sure, there you go. Yeah. Also, I've got Makabe and Takayama going out on TV roles in a little under 2 months, which is interesting. But yeah, that's just stuff that happens. Anyway, tournament standings, as we're getting close to the end here. Anzoa has 1 point with 2 matches left. Blue Wolf has 6 points with 3 matches left. Goto has 8 points with 2 matches left. Nago has 2 points with 2 matches left. Kodaka has 7 points with 3 matches left. Yamamoto has 5 points with 3 matches left, and Yano has 6 points with 4 matches left. So interesting stuff, and also I might have to unfortunately double up Yano because I didn't realize I didn't have him enough matches. We'll have to see about it. Regardless, still anybody's, well, most people's games here, as it could be anybody walking into the Young Lions Cup final at the Tokyo Dome. But next match will be actually the final show before the Tokyo Dome show, the sort of official tour ender, and then it'll be time for actual the actual Dome show, so I'll be back with that in just a moment. All right, it's now time for the, I guess, go-home house show, or tour show, before the big Dome show, but let's go over what has happened before and what we're leading up to. So, let's see here. What did you guys actually see? Okay, right. Okay, so we had on the show 8 from Nagasaki, you had Blue Wolf going over Akaya, Kodaka getting over Nagio, and Yano getting a sort of big win over Goto in the Young Lion Cup, and then Yamamoto getting a big win over Yano to sort of balance everything out. Let's pretend these matches were better planned out. And we had Fujita getting a win over Sugawara to first continue to build him up. We had a kind of squash win for the Tsurushooter team of Suzuki, Murakami, and Barnett defeat Saito, Goto, and Yoshi. Then we had Ishimori getting a win over Jado in a really solid match. Then we had Nishimura Makabe getting a big tag win over Ryoto and Negai. And we had Chono and Milano Collection AT teaming up to defeat Heat and Tenryu in a match that honestly probably should have been higher up on the card. Nakanishi and Norton get a win as members of Pirates Gunden and one half of the tag teams. Our tag team between Izuka and Shibata in a 63. Then we had a main event of Takayama, Naruse, and Fujita defeating Nagata, Yasuda, and Shoshu in a 60, and afterwards Takayama and Nagata brawl. Then in our final pre-show, in our final match before the end of the before the end of the tour here is Taguchi getting a shock win over Yamamoto, Blue Wolf getting the win over Yano, Gideon Jero getting a win over Strong and Curryman, Shibata and Murakami defeating Nagai and Saito, Nishimura and Makabe getting another tag win over Yasuda and Yoshi. We had Tahashi, Choshu, and Goto defeating Barnett, Izuka, and Suzuki, putting Tahashi over now that he's back to 100%. Nagata and Ryoto then defeating Takayama and Naruse in a 69. And then you had Nakamura and Chono teaming up to defeat Sasaki and Nakanishi, with then Chono and Tenryu having a showdown afterwards. Now it's time for our final main event, for our final show here. So let's go over the Young Lions tournament. So if we look at the Young Lions Cup standings, we have at the moment Yano, Kodaka, and Blue Wolf tied at 9 points each. Goto with 8 points, Yamamoto with 7 points, Kaguchi with 3 points, who's finished, Nego with 2 points, and Enzo with 1 point. So basically, there is still one additional match that I'm putting on the dark as a dark match, just pretend that I put it at a better shot, which is Yano versus Kodaka. If Kodaka wins that, he's basically in the driver's seat to get to the finals. Same thing with Yano. And then for the final official matches for the day, we have Anzawa versus Nago, which is basically just a throwaway match because they're both at the bottom of the show. We have Goto versus Yamamoto, where if Goto wins, he is possibly winning into the finals, but if Yamamoto wins, he could create a logjam at the top. Then we have the final match, which is Blue Wolf versus Kodaka, where it could be either basically a match where Blue Wolf needs to win to set up a playoff, or if Kodaka wins, he's all the way into the finals. So we'll have to see what happens here next. So as we're live from the beautiful industrial gym in Toyota, so we start the show with a pre-show match, which again should have been on another show, as Kodaka beats Yano, which puts him at 11 points, Yano at 9. So Yano is basically, the only way for Yano to now to get into the finals is if Yamamoto beats Goto, and then Blue Wolf, and then Kodaka beats Blue Wolf, which will set up a playoff between Blue Wolf and Yano. Because I believe they actually tied. But a big win for here, Kodaka gets a win in only about 5 minutes. This gets a 30, Yano gets a 20, Kodaka gets a 45. But now let's move to the other Young Lion Cup matches. First, we have in sort of a throwaway, Nago defeating Anzawa, and in about 10 minutes with the big boot. This gets a 16, Nago gets an 18, Anzawa gets a 20, and Nago, finishes with a solid 4 points. Not quite great, and not in the running for the win, but not bottom of the Anzawa and Taguchi. And then Goto gets the big win over Yamamoto in a 25, as Goto gets a 31, Yamamoto gets a 27, and now Goto has 7 points and Yamamoto is out. So that means for the finals, if Blue Wolf wins, it's going to be a rematch between him and Kodaka, but if Kodaka wins, It's going to be Karaka versus Goto, so that means Blue Wolf has to win in order for to get into the final. And unfortunately for him, he does fail as Kodaka gets the win over Blue Wolf for 13 minutes, as this gets a 40, Blue Wolf gets a 48, Kodaka gets a 52. Still a pre-show like gimmick, but that means for Nexess is going to be for the Young Lions Cup, Kodaka versus Hiroki Goto. Where is there? And then moving on, in a sort of, preview and sort of like build-up match for the junior heavyweight tag match, we have Minoru Fujita getting the win over newcomer Roderick Strong, as he gets just quickly by pinfall. This gets a 44. Roderick Strong gets a 50. Minoru Fujita gets a 58, but a strong win for Milano, as we get the build-up for the final, tag match before the big junior heavyweight tag match. Then we have just to win to build up Takayama and Naruse. Takayama and Naruse get a win over our mid-card folks, Nagai and Shuotsen, as Takayama beats Nagai with the Everstreamer Suplex. This gets a 59. Takayama gets a 63. Naruse gets a 50. Rito gets a 39, and Nagai gets a 51. And then after that, in a big 6-man preview match, Heat, Liger, and Tahashi team up to face off against Fujita, Ishimori, and Barnett. As Ishimori and Fujita haven't been quite openly shooter juniors, but they're sort of pushing this way, but they're more just like punk juniors. But in a big win, the babyfaces get the win as Heat Liger pins Fujita with a shote at a little under 20 minutes. This gets a 67. Tahashi gets a 69. Liger gets a 75. Heat gets a 49. Barnett gets a 66. And Ishimori gets a 55. And Fujita gets a 35. And then in sort of a semi-main event match, and sort of a match that's sort of unofficially set up to be where if they get the win here, they're allowed to be their own stable without any more interference from New Japan officials. Nakamura, Nishimura Makabe get the win over Nagata, Yoshi, and Riku Choshu, as Nakamura pins Yoshi in a little over 13 minutes. This gets a 63. Makabe gets a 49. Nishimura gets a 56. Nakamura gets a 70. Choshu gets a 44. Yoshi gets a 36. And Nagata gets a 73. And a big win for Supernova Gun as they get the big win here. And then finally, Takayama comes out and attacks Nagata for their feud with a little bit before the Dome show, and then which gets a 75. Then we have Goldberg cutting a basically promo on the there's a screen there. Goldberg cuts a promo saying, basically Fujita's next, and then up next is going to be the rest of New Japan, as this gets a 61, as it's Goldberg not speaking Japanese. And then in our main event, in a 59, so sort of disappointed, but a decent match, as Pirates get in, get the big win as Tenryu, Norton, Sasaki, and Nakanishi defeat Chono, Seto, Goto, and Yasuda in 15 minutes, and Sasaki pins Yasuda with Northern Lights Bomb. And then, 59 overall, Nakanishi gets a 59, Sasaki gets a 62, Norton gets a 64, Tenryu gets a 45, Yasuda gets a 42, Goto gets a 31, Seto gets a 40, Chono gets a 59, and then basically, looks like everything's ending, but then Sasaki's, staying alone after winning, when rather than Muto's music comes at, there's a challenge made, and the final match for the Dome show is set. That's going to be Kensuke Suzuki versus Keiji Muto. There we go. And yeah. And overall, this gets a 64. So solid show. And that we didn't really build up the IWGP title match, but basically, I don't want to say it's been built up enough, but yeah, the big attack by Sapp at the last show was enough, and Nakamura needs it. I also wanted to build up Nakamura stable so they get the big win here, and also set them up for the tag match at the Dome show, and then the other the actual Pirates get in get the win as well. Oh man, okay, this is hilarious that Gato, despite what happened in real life, is turning his notice because I'm not over pushing him, which is interesting, but that means something anyway. That's interesting. Anyway, so final lineup go over for the Dome show. We have Goldberg versus Fujita, Tenryu versus Chono, Heat versus Fujita for the junior heavyweight tag title, and for the junior heavyweight title, Tanahashi versus Barnett for the under 30 title, Kodaka versus Goto for the Young Lions Cup, Liger versus Ishimori, Sasaki versus Moto, Kanamoto and Milano Collection AT versus Dragon Curryman for the IWGP Tag Titles, Norton Nakanishi versus Nishimura and Makabe for the tag titles, Nakamura versus Sapp for the IWGP title, and Nagata versus Takayama. So big show, big Dome show, and we'll see what happens in just a moment here as I book it up. Alright, it's now time for New Japan Nexus, our second big dome show of the year, and I think our final big dome show of the year, as we got big matches: Nakamura versus Sapp for the IWGP title, Sasaki versus Muto, Nagata versus Takayama, Goldberg versus Fujita in his New Japan debut, Tenryu versus Chono, Heat versus Fujita for the junior title, Norton Nakanishi versus Nishimura Makabe for the tag titles, Kanamoto and Milano defending the junior tag titles against Striking Curryman, Tahashi versus Barnett for the under 30 title, and then Liger versus Ishimori in a battle of Rising Junior versus a Junior Legend, and of course, Kodaka versus Goto opening us for the Young Lion Cup. Let's get rolling with the show. We start out with Goto going over Kodaka in a bit of a shock with the missile dropkick to win the Young Lions Cup. This gets a 37, Kodaka gets a 52, Goto gets a 32. Unfortunately, Kodaka was upset about this because he's not officially Young Lion in game, but, you know, that's what the money is for, to figure it out when the game doesn't quite understand actual booking. But a big win for Goto as part of the biggest win of his career at this point. As post-match, he celebrates to 31 as Goto wins the Young Lions Cup here in impressive fashion. And the next up, we have, in a huge win for him, Taiji Ishimori beating Liger clean in the middle of the ring with a superstar elbow in a little under 15 minutes. This gets a 75, Liger gets 75, Taiji gets a 62, back and forth match, but in the end, Ishimori gets a huge win here over Liger, and, you know, totally clean. Like, obviously, he's a bastard heel throughout the match, but he's just a little bit better. Gets out of the Liger Bomb, hits a few big moves, hits Superstar Elbow. Clean win for Taiji Ishimori as he beats the junior legend Liger here at the Tokyo Dome at Nexus. And then in sort of, honestly, a throwaway match, just gets people on the show, Suzuki, Iizuka, Shibata, and Murakami from the Shooters defeat Yoshi, Yasuda, Ryota, and Nagai in 12 minutes. Suzuki pins Yoshi. This was just a way to get the Shooters over. This gets a 56, Murakami gets a 53, Shibata gets a 47, Suzuki gets a 53, Suzuki gets a 66, Nagai gets a 51, Ryota gets a 35, Yasuda gets a 40, and Yoshi gets a 32. So they're just a quick win for the Shooters. And after this, Tanahashi gets a big win over Josh Barnett in 16 minutes by pinfall. Hits high fly flow to get the win over Barnett and prove, you know, bit of big win for him. Makes defense number 4 of his under 30 title. This gets a 72. Straightforward win. Continuing to build up Tanahashi as he gets a 70 and Barnett gets a 64. As Tanahashi continues to prove himself to be one of the rising stars here in New Japan in 2004. And then next up, Kanamoto basically returns from his injury after being out for a couple weeks and reteams with Milano to retain the IWGP Junior Tag Titles, defeating Dragon Curryman in a little over 12 minutes as Milano submits Curryman, and just a straightforward win to build them up as the top junior tag team, as this gets a 72, Milano Collection AT gets a 65, Koji gets a 68, Curryman gets a 65, Danielson gets 68. So solid match as Koji and Milano get the win here. And then in our tag title match, Norton and Nakanishi get the big win over Nishimura and Makabe in a little under 11 minutes, as Nakanishi pins Makabe with Hercules Cutter and make defense number 1 of their tag titles. Just a straightforward, solid win here. Nishimura and Makabe look good, but they're not quite ready to defeat two stalwart IWGP stalwarts who are still part of the Pirates of Gunden at the moment, as this gets a 69, Nakanishi gets a 61, Norton gets a 67, Makabe gets a 48, and Nishimura gets a 60, but a straightforward, strong win for Nishimura, for Nakanishi and Norton here. And then afterwards, oof. Oh, shit. What the hell? Okay. Why were you... Okay. That's interesting. Anyway, and about the decent interaction with the crowd, but Total Wrestling, Heat defeats Fujita in a little over 13 minutes by submission. Heat makes defense number 3 his IWGP title. So, this is shitty. Heat showing true unprofessionalism. Heat completely phoned in his performance. It was clear to everyone he wasn't trying at all. This only gets a 47. Heat goes over, but post-match, Ishimori attacks Heat as this gets a 41. And yeah, I'm going to have to deal with that after the show. Anyway, in our sort of legend match, Chono gets the win over Tenryu in a little under 11 minutes, as Chono beats Tenryu with a shining Suzuki kick. This gets a 64. Chono gets a 67. Tenryu gets a 45. And yeah, unfortunately, because of the way Tenryu's ratings are in this game, I'm probably not going to use him that much. So this might be the last time we see Tenryu, outside of maybe like a Legends tag at the next Dome show. but I might bring him in. I mean, he's still decently over, so I'll just figure out what I do with him officially. And then in Goldberg's debut, he gets the big win, defeating Fujita in about 9 minutes with a jackhammer. Like you can imagine this match. This is just two big. This is just two big bulls going each after each other, attacking. Big moves, big moves. But eventually, Goldberg ends things with the spear, and the jackhammer, getting the win over Fujita in a little over 9 minutes. Goldberg gets a 62, Fujita gets a 60, but a big clear win for Goldberg here in his debut here in New Japan. And then, as we're setting up for our next match, Nagata versus Takayama, Nagata shockingly comes out with Tenzan, as Takayama is surprised at this, as he thought he officially took out Tenzan, at least that's the sort of rebuilding. And then in the actual match, that gets a 71, Nagata, oh shit, okay. I thought I could get away with this, but unfortunately I couldn't. Okay, well, shit happens, what can you do? Anyway, Nagata gets the win over Takayama in about 20 minutes after distraction from Tenzan. So basically, this isn't a distraction. This is just Tenzan being out there, and Tenzan, basically Takayama being freaked out about enough that Nagata is able to get the win. But unfortunately, the crowd did not like that. I mean, it would have been a 72 without the crowd hated the ending of the match. But a strong win for Nagata. And then, oof, okay. This might be a bad, this is a very 2004 New Japan ending to a show. Unfortunately, Muto and Suzuki don't click, which them being able to do better than after. Okay, well, this is just a shitty ending. Okay, well, Muto gets the win over Suzuki with a Shining Wizard, a little over 19 minutes. This gets a 57. Suzuki gets a 58. Muto gets a 56. Unfortunately, I wanted to put Suzuki over here, but Muto had creative control because he's coming over from All Japan. But a big win for Muto here and on the Dome show, and hopefully we can build some people to over enough that he'll put them over. But a big win here. And then in our main event, this is basically not quite a shoot, but this setup is just two guys kicking the shit out of each other for a couple minutes. Sapp basically runs out of energy. Nakamura drills him with the Kinshasa, gets a pinfall here, clean win in the middle of the ring, and it sets him up as really the top guy in the promotion at the moment. This gets a 66, Nakamura gets a 70, Sapp gets a 47, and the show ends with Nakamura celebrating to a 77, and overall we get a 71. Okay, so still lost us popularity, but honestly, those last couple matches really screwed us over. So, let's see here. Heat ripped into, because they would get ripped into. Let's see here. Liger is not happy about shopping, which doesn't really make any sense, but here, I'll give him a hug. And honestly, let's see here. Honestly, since he put over, well, and that would make sense, Goldberg's really over, so actually, let's say, because he's my future top guy, let's just put over Tahashi. Sort of, yeah, that was not the show I wanted to do there. I wanted to do something that was slightly better, but hey, what can you do? Shit happens. Bad chemistry. Me, honestly, I probably should have just, made it in game that he was, in canon that he was, a little bit distracted, but, what can you do? Shit happens. Let's see here. Yeah, Inoki. I get it, you don't like Norton, but anyway, as we end things here, so our, again, title holders, as we go into the Best of the Super Juniors, which is coming up next. IWGP Champion is still Nakamura. Junior Heavyweight Champion is still Heat, at least for now. Junior Heavyweight Tag Champs are Milano and Koji. IWGP Tag Champion is Norton and Nakanishi. Under 30 Heavyweight Champion is Tanahashi. And our new Young Lion Cup winner is Goto. So if we actually just, let me look over a couple people here. Goto, has Goto really been super helped by his push? He's getting there. He's up to a 33, so solidly over. Tanahashi, let me see here. Has Tanahashi a strong push? Yeah, he's up to actually above 70s. Let's see here. Have I killed Sapp's overness? Nope, not yet. That's good. All right. Heat is still decently over. Let's see here. Who else do I care about? Liger's not stupidly over, but hey, he can be easily rebuilt because he's friggin' Liger. Let's see here. Who else do we care about? Monaco Collection AT has been, I mean, he's been decently built up. Nakamura is actually getting over as a top guy, which is good. Then we got, let's see here, we got Takayama, who is about as over as he was at the start of the year. And then we got Nagata, who's Nagata. He's not super over anymore, but he was honestly more over than he should have been, but I think that works for the game. So decent stuff, and size-wise, I mean, I'm sure we're still slowly dropping, because again, we have to, I mean, that's part of this part of the game in New Japan is rebuilding your show to be better. But anyway, that's it for now. Give this a like if you enjoyed the show. Comment below what you're liking and not liking. Subscribe to the channel for TEW 2020 content such as this. And, talk to you later. Have a good one. Adios.